In this deep dive into Jeffrey Epstein's birth chart, I take a look at the hidden astrological patterns that reveal the secrets to his power, manipulation, and crimes. His chart shows somebody who had an ability to navigate elite spaces and authority, appear credible, and manipulate systems to his advantage, all the while managing to avoid any real accountability. When it comes to power and abuse in astrology, you look to the 8th house and Pluto, which are about sex, control, other people's resources, trauma, exploitation, and the taboo. In Epstein's chart, his 8th house is in Leo and has the planet Pluto retrograde in it. What's important to note is that Pluto in Leo is a generational planet, so this doesn't mean that everyone with that placement is the same. This is a generation that has a fixation on dominance, power, and legacy. It's full of ego that's tied deeply to recognition and control. It's quite literally the idea of the 1%. Other notable people who also have Pluto in Leo are Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Tony Blair, Bill Gates, and Donald Trump. Let's talk about how Jeffrey Epstein was able to get away with his crimes. Neptune is the planet of illusion, secrecy, escapism, and denial. He had both his Sun and Mercury square Neptune, which show an identity that's built on lies and deception. Mercury here can make you a master of illusions. His Saturn and Neptune are both in Libra and in the 10th house of public recognition, reputation, and success. Saturn is authority, time, and karma. Having both Saturn and Neptune in the 10th house shows how authority figures can hide wrongdoings for you. It gives almost untouchable energy. This is when the higher-ups are willing to turn a blind eye, and that's why the files were hidden for so long. The influence of Libra on those planets show how his friendships would also aid him. His Saturn-Neptune conjunction creates power without accountability. Shocking, freaky, and disturbing are just some of the many words I'm sure come to mind for most of us when we think of this scandal. So it was important to look at the planet Uranus in Jeffrey's chart, and ironically, what I found wasn't surprising. Uranus in Cancer being in his 7th house and opposing his ascendant in Capricorn explains the intricacies of his personal relationships. Because this aspect brings you unusual or even controversial relationships, it's an association to those who are unorthodox. Venus trine Uranus brings you unique or unusual friends. Mars gives you exciting allure and attracts a lot of interest from others. Something about Jeffrey's sexual attractiveness came with an element of danger or risk that people found exhilarating. Uranus trine Mars is quite crazy because it gives you someone who's always willing and ready to take risks with things that are controversial or experimental. Epstein was the guy willing to do things others were afraid of doing first. This aspect made it easy for him to get help from others because of his charisma and charm. Uranus in the 7th house would show how shocking, unconventional, and disruptive his partnerships would be. And Cancer's influence shows how some of those partnerships would involve families. It is known that Jeffrey Epstein had no formal credentials, but somehow knew how to connect with the right people. He was able to leverage proximity to elite networks which increased his wealth and enabled him to gain access to increasing power. His Sun and North Node in Aquarius are both in the 2nd house of money, resources, and values. He accumulated his wealth by positioning himself inside networks that included royalty, politicians, billionaires, scientists, and celebrities. His Jupiter trine ascendant aspect is very interesting because it's an extremely lucky aspect. In this context, it made people want to help him, and authority figures would be willing to give him a chance. But this aspect can have a sinister manifestation due to Jupiter's ability to exaggerate and amplify if affected by planets such as Mars, Saturn, or Pluto. And because Jupiter was in Jeffrey's 5th house, we saw how this manifestation included risk-taking, sex, children, pleasure, greed, and selfishness. A 5th house Jupiter in Taurus also shows somebody who knows how to host in luxurious places, can fund pleasure, and provide experiences that others want access to. He knew how to gain social leverage through questionable enjoyment. Epstein's Venus and Mars are both conjunct Pisces in the 3rd house of communication, local trips, and transportation. Venus-Mars conjunction can be looked at as sexualized action and desire merged together. The 3rd house shows why a lot of compromising evidence has been found via letters and emails, and why he had a private jet called the Lolita Express. Pisces brings fantasy and illusion. Epstein was able to normalize the abnormal when it came to sex, pleasure, violence, and control. He knew how to blur consent and frame abuse as help or connection. The midheaven describes how somebody is known, like it's your public destiny. His MC is Scorpio in this context shows the hidden dealings, psychological and sexual power. His part of fortune conjunct the MC is why his so-called luck came from secrecy. His fortune was literally built on what others chose to turn a blind eye to. It's why this scandal didn't immediately destroy him the first time in 2008 and why exposure was so delayed. So this all means public destiny tied to scandal or exposure. Jupiter opposing the MC creates the untouchable belief. The belief that one is favoured or protected. Jupiter here inflated his confidence and trust in his secrets being kept. It's the sort of placement that creates the belief of, even if something comes out, I'll be fine. And lastly, we have his Sun square MC. As the Sun is all about the ego, will, and sense of self, a square to the MC means a misalignment between who someone is and who they publicly claim to be.